Okay, that made me a little bit nervous.
Yeah, go.
No issue.
Oh, likewise. Likewise, I think this is gonna be good. Yes. And, I think, in Australia, need to work through that relationship through this forum. Yeah.
One of the projects hosted by government EV.
Oh, yeah.
So when we will be taken over to the
Right. Yeah, so, so I obviously, I have I cover internet issues at ITU, but
okay.
the vast majority of the relationship is copper.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Hello there. We're going to be heading our session. This is a cooperation special interest group. And we are very glad to have this session that's running on every APNIC session. And today, we're going to be starting our session like right now. So I appreciate everybody start moving in, and we're going to have a wonderful 90 minutes here. So let me welcome you all to come into this Cooperation SIG. And before I really formally start, I just want to say that this has been very inspiring today, that as we have here from the opening ceremony, when Randy was mentioning that Percy was saying that in her opening remark from TH Foundation, she had mentioned cooperation 8 times in her short opening remarks. And of course, Randy, during his keynote, he has mentioned many, many times about cooperation. As we see how the internet has evolved, cooperation is really the key. We work together. We are not going to be able to operate by ourselves alone. And there's so many things we can really work with each other and to take advantage and being here at the APNIC conference. So let me just quickly introduce you that this Cooperation SIG has been last. And our goal, every special interest group session, that we have a little bit of a different focus. And this time for today, we're going to be doing the technical capacity building. And it's, as I said earlier, when I was making a remark at the APNIC Foundation, I said this was not coordinated, and it just happened to be that we both are thinking about how this technical capacity building is important. And the way that we are approaching obviously could be a little bit different, but that's exactly that we have this session. So welcome here face-to-face, and I know that there are people from the online session, so we're gonna be we are gonna be start. So the way that we're gonna be running is that I'm gonna do a quick introduction about my 5 wonderful speakers here, and also my co-chair, Bikram. Bikram is sitting on the other end, so he can cover something I do not able to cover, and my 5 wonderful speakers. So I'm gonna just go down and quickly to mention who they are, and they will have some time to introduce themselves and something related to what we have been doing in the capacity building. And then I have some questions later that I will address to my wonderful speakers and to hear from their experience, their expectation, and what they have seen in the past. So I guess my little chit chat is different than the way that we are sitting. So I'm going to go with the lady, the wonderful lady next to me, Sylvia. Sylvia is from APNIC Foundation. She's heading the program and a lot of the service programs, and she's doing wonderful. So we can hear from the APNIC Foundation. And next to Sylvia is Mr. Liu. And Mr. Liu is the Deputy Secretary General of Asia Pacific Telecommunication, the APD. And I was chatting with him. He said way back then, he was the chair for APAC Telecommunication and Information Working Group. So he's coming like a really strong in all this field, and capacity building is obviously his thing. He has seen different generations of people. And next to Mr. Liu is Nata Chen. Nata Chen is from Thailand. He's, I think, representing the government. And he's really a very kind and friendly person. He's the executive director Office of the National Broadcasting and Telecommunication Commission. That's what we refer to it as NBTC, the academy. He's locally from Thailand. So I invite him to share more about what's happening here in Thailand when we are standing in this land. And after that is not. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I'm. Did I confuse that? Okay. So Nata Chen and Samir. Samir is the Senior Advisor of the ITU Regional Office for the Asia and the Pacific. And next to that is Ian. Ian is from Australia, the Director of Internet Governance, the Department of Infrastructure, Transport, Regional Development, Communication, and the Art from Australia. So we really have a very variety of spectrum of the panelists. And let's hope have a very delighted and inspired discussion on the technical capacity building. So with that, I'm gonna pass my microphone to ask each one of them to introduce themselves and for their work. And let's hear from Sylvia. You want to get started?
Thank you. Thank you, Joy. My pleasure to be here with you. My name is Silvia Cadena. I'm the Head of Programs and Partnerships of the APNIC Foundation. I'm originally from Colombia, and I've been working in Asia for the last 16 years. I have close to 30 years of experience in internet development. And I think that one of the things that have been prevalent throughout all my career has been to try to support collaboration that is sometimes not in the budget, and it builds capacity along the way. Part of the things that I'm going to be sharing with you all today are experiences from the APNIC Foundation, and before the foundation was established, as I joined APNIC 16 years ago, and explore some of those initiatives that we have been working on. I think that there are many opportunities to collaborate and coordinate to build technical capacity in the region. And it is important to understand not only the impact of those, but how we can work together to make them grow and scale. So thank you.
Passing on. Yeah, Mr. Liu, thank you.
So thank you, Jill. So good afternoon. It's my pleasure to join this session, and a brief introduction about myself. My name is Liu Ziping. I'm the Deputy Secretary General of APT, Asia Pacific Technical Community in short. And a few words about APT is about. APT is an intergovernmental organization in Asia Pacific region, and it is the only one intergovernmental organization that is focused on promoting ICT development in our region. And our organization is basically membership driven. We have members from the members administration, as well as we have quite a large representation of membership from industries. And in terms of what we do, basically, we are guided by our strategic plan, which is approved at the high level, at ministerial level, and which is updated every years. And our focus as of now on basically five areas, 5 pillars, as we put it. It's digital inclusion, connectivity, transformation, sustainability, also trust and security. So to be a little more specific, what we do is basically composed of 3 parts, 3 areas. Number one is we provide platform for members to exchange views and cooperate with each other in terms of policy and regulation as far as ICT is concerned. Secondly, what we do is capacity building, which is what we are talking about today. This has been a focus for APT for many years, given the, let's say, the requirements of members in many areas. I think the third part, I think is also equally important, is what we call regional coordination and cooperation, and coordination, in terms of how to prepare regional positions and views in response to, let's say, the major conferences organized by ITU that relates to different areas, development, standardization, and radio, let's say, frequency. So that's a short introduction. Thank you.
Wonderful. Can we move on?
Good afternoon, everyone. And I'm Natasha Chintakanon, and I'm from the NBTC Thailand, the National Broadcasting and Telecommunications Commission. And I'm the Executive Director of NBTC Academy presently. This position of mine has just been starting this January, so this year. Before that, I was the Executive Director of International Affairs for NBTC for around 8 years. And NBTC is the National Independent Regulator of Thailand, and we regulate telecommunications, broadcasting, satellite. We do hand out licensing because Thailand is under the licensing regime, and we take care of technical standards, consumer protections, numbering, universal service obligation, just to name a few. So the office covering a wide range of issues. For me, when I was Executive Director of International Affairs, my job was to represent Thailand in ITU, APT, ASEAN, APEC, and FTA negotiations on digital trade and telecommunications. So my job back then related to this forum in the sense that, for example, when I had to attend the meeting, I had to put the technical aspects in terms of policy, and we discuss in international forums and make it become a policy. So it's a mixture of technical knowledge, and we move from deep techniques into the higher level and in the broader big picture to form the policy and strategic plan. And currently, as I mentioned, I'm the Executive Director of NBTC Academy. So my job right now is capacity building and training and technical assistance, which is also related to APRICOT and APNIC, because we do provide assistance and capacity building to make sure that NBTC personnel and people in the industry are very well equipped with knowledge and with skills. And that is short introduction for me. And, as a people from Thailand have to say welcome to Thailand, and thank you very much, APNIC and APRICOT, for having me here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Natasha. Really that he's representing the government from Thailand, and we are so glad that having your appearance here to discuss and sharing with us on everything that you did in Thailand. I remember the last time when I attended another APNIC event here in Thailand was in Chiang Mai, and it's very, very different. And for between that's 2019 till now, so much has improved and enhanced and changed. So thanks to you on that. So moving on, I'm going to ask Samir that you can share with a little bit with yourself and background. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And first and foremost, I would like to express my gratitude to the host for this kind invitation. And my great interest here was not only to meet the community here, as well as the friends and the partners in this room. I've been working for the last 17 years in ITU. I joined back in Bangkok regional office this January. And before that, for 3 years remotely as well as physically, I was working as a head of special initiatives in ITU, Partner to Connect. APNIC is also a member for Partner to Connect, as well as connecting every school to the internet with the ITU UNICEF initiative, as well as at the time of pandemic and natural disaster, how we can create resilient digital infrastructure under Connect to Recover, and finally under the UK FCDO government for digital inclusion. But I'm very happy to be back here in this new role as a senior advisor, responsible for basically our goal here, key priorities on digital transformation and meaningful connectivity. You saw our Secretary General statement from Mobile World Congress yesterday that 2.6 billion people are still offline, And one of the key things that we need is the investment and the commitment that we are bringing in, the $9 billion of commitment that has been put forward by the mobile industry, as well as overall $46 billion of commitment under Partner to Connect to address the bridge the gap, for which a target has been set by Secretary General for $100 billion for 2026. So I'm very happy, in particular, this topic here for capacity building, because ITU is the lead agency in the UN system for in the information communication technologies, and in particular building the capacity of the basic, standard, and the advanced technologies. And I would be able to share a little bit more in details and maybe able to learn from you too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. ITU is a very respectable organization, and we're very glad to have a representative here. I think that means something. And last but not least, Ian.
Thank you, Joy. My name is Ian Sheldon. I'm the Director of Internet Governance from the Australian Government Department of Infrastructure and a range of other functions. My department covers everything from roads and bridges to telecommunications, satellites, and importantly, internet governance matters. So my team, quite simply, is formally charged with defending free, open, secure, and interconnected internet. That means we engage in a range of international fora. I'm the Australian GAC representative at ICANN. I cover internet issues at the ITU. We support and engage in the IGF at the domestic, regional, and international level. And we also have recently been paying a little bit more attention to the standards space around the IETF as well. Capacity building is a core part of the Australian government's priorities over the next couple of years. And for us, simply put, a rising tide lifts all boats. We're seeing increasingly complex, interconnected, highly contested internet landscape. And so it simply makes a lot of sense to invest a lot of time, energy, and resources into helping build the technical capacity of those, both domestically as well as those across the region. It's my pleasure to be here and looking forward to a fantastic conversation this afternoon.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ian. And let me also say this, that Ian also served in another capacity as the ICANN GAG member. So I know that whenever the ICANN has the meeting, there's always the capacity building for the first 2 days or 1 day. So capacity building is really the thing. And I think that also that, let me roll back a little bit, that Natasha actually have a slide to share with us. So we just kind of like went through so smoothly and didn't show the slide. So if we can have the slide ready. Thank you, Natasha, if you're ready.
No, thank you very much, Chair. I will not take much time, just basically to introduce about our work on capacity building, to be very focused what we do and how we can benefit together. And then we can integrate something if there's any feedback. Go to the next slide, please. So as you see that, sorry, go back to the first slide, please. Okay. So there are two key issues currently, as I mentioned in my opening statement, that as a digital divide, 2.6 billion people are still offline. They are not able to benefit the ICT, the privileges that all of us are enjoying here. And there's a gender divide, which actually is leading to a skills divide. As of today, we have 33% of the people, world population, they are still offline. And 65 of the women use internet compared to 70%, and which is leading to skills divide, and how we are going to address. So in just a couple of slides, I would like to share with you. Next slide, please. I have to build my skill to go to the next slide. Anyway, so the capacity development, the objective here for us is to achieving digitally competent society and improving livelihood for boosting knowledge and skills on the digital technologies. So basically, we are developing training courses for highly skilled professionals with the focus areas to have the modules which is online and offline for specialized professionals from the policymakers, regulators, operators. Just to share with you that ITU has got membership in the UN family with the private sector, more than 1,000 sector members, 150 academia. They are part of our membership. But the challenge is to keep updating, because as the technologies change, we need to constantly update our modules, making sure the requirements of the new technologies are met for the participants. Next slide, please. Again, the solution for the ITU is developing and delivering training courses, capacity building modules, both online as well as offline. We also carry out extensive research as well as the toolkits that we develop, which the countries in the region, they can actually develop their national strategies for skill development. There's extensive work that we carry out. And we don't do it alone. We do it with our partners. There are around 11 partners. And one of them is sitting on our dais, NBTC on the chat. They are our partners in the ITU Academy. We've been doing extensive training courses with them. Next slide, please. This is just to give you a sneak preview about the training courses that we have. On the left-hand side, you have the resources that we develop, which are reference sources when the countries want to develop, upskill their resources in the capacity building areas on digital skills insights, some of the assessment guidelines, where are the gaps in the skill development, which are the areas that they need to focus, some toolkits. And as you can see, there are two different ways in which we deliver our training courses. One is the ITU Academy, the online training courses. And the specialized areas are, as you can see, the policy and regulation, network infrastructure, spectrum, capacity building on cybersecurity, etc. And we have digital transformation centers, which are basically for the basic and the standard capacity building in the community, the underserved communities. And in our region, we have Indonesia, Pakistan, PNG, and the Philippines. Next slide, please. And these are some of the quick numbers. 150 training courses are online. 40,000 plus users use this. 67% of participants are from developing countries. And the last slide, I just wanted to highlight, I think this is for us. APNIC is our sector member. They have committed to our partner to connect pledges. And also, this is interesting to know that we have been organizing IPv6 migration trainings in the training centers, as well as direct country assistances to many, many countries. So I really look forward to furthering our collaboration and stand guided with the demand and the request from the members. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. And allow me to make the record straight. The credit goes to Samir for the ITU capacity building slides. These are wonderful. And before I start my questions to my panelists, I also like to give a minute to Bikram, my wonderful co-chair, who has also helped preparation for this session so much. So Bikram.
Thank you, Chair. This is Bikram Sresha from Nepal Indian Foundation and a co-chair for the Cooperation SIG. And Joy, myself, we have been working from last 4 years. So this capacity building, technical capacity building program, this session, we thought that in our region, this is very essential for us to make whatever we have doing in our region. So as we have a different panel, different sectors, speakers, so they are the expertise in different areas. So we have the panel, so we'll definitely have their expertise views on this capacity building. So thank you.
Okay, Bikram. So I'm going to start asking a few questions to my panelists, and I also welcome you. If you think about anything that you'd like to know more, please do come to the microphone, and we're open to all of you for any questions. So the first question I'm thinking about is that when we are talking about capacity building, there's many different ways that we are building the capacity. And one of the things that I have to ask is that how do you measure the outcomes? How do you measure the outcome from the capacity building that you think that some of the initiatives that perhaps or examples that people have done that's really showing off that this is something that really worth a while, did a good job, and we can share with. So Sylvia, do you want to tell us about it?
Thank you, Joy. The APNIC Foundation is organized across 3 programs: inclusion, infrastructure, and knowledge. And over the last few years, we have supported hundreds of projects in the region. And it's on a very different range of issues, some very technical, some more solution-based and applications and services. So trying to come up with mechanisms to measure impact and compare numbers from, apples and pears can be quite complicated. So there is a reflection mechanism that the foundation has started to incorporate in the last few years, especially in the projects that are around human capacity building, and they refer to a mechanism called the most significant change. It is a monitor and evaluation tool that allows individuals to identify through a series of guiding questions what has been the impact of their interpersonal lives and their professional lives about the support that they have received. When it refers to infrastructure or technical capacity, for example, for an IPv6 deployment project or HoneyNet initiative, there are a number of numbers that will allow you to know how their reach, what data they receive, how people use it. So there are a number of metrics that you can allocate to that, but you still need to try and figure out what is the human element in that space. And incorporating that opportunity for reflection is also part of our reporting mechanisms. We ask our grant recipients to submit reports twice during the course of their grants. One, when they have reached 80% of their expenditure, and the second one, 10% before they are ready to finalize their projects and their budgets. And with the idea that they incorporate in their reporting reflection about what they learned during the process, what was different from what they originally proposed to what they ended up doing, and that we allow and support flexibility and change, because as the technology changed and needs change, donors and investors in this space also need to have the ear on the ground to allow for that flexibility to happen. So we don't follow very strict results frameworks or logic frameworks that says you said you were going to do 3 and you deliver 2, hence you failed. We don't do that. If you say, I said I was going to do 3, deploy 3 sites, or allocate this number of addresses, or provide this number of trainings, and then I pivoted and changed in this area. What is important to us is that they know why you did what you did. How can you explain that to others so that you can easily replicate the initiative that you were working on, advise others when they are facing change? Because this is, and I guess that's one of the reasons why the ASIF grantees and the foundation grantees were able to complete their projects all the way through COVID and all the different challenges that were thrown at them. We were able to get to the other end of the pandemic and still working our way because we keep inquiring and learning through the process. So it's just, I guess it's a reflection mechanism, and try to figure out what metrics you can collect that make sense for a number of initiatives that you are supporting, but also encouraging the organizations that are receiving the support to do their own metrics and incorporate those lessons into their own planning.
Wonderful. So Sylvia, it sounds like that there's some flexibility, there's some room that you have some buffer to make the changes, unlike some of the projects that would probably sometimes that there were like KPIs you have to follow, and there's like very quantitative and measured so-called KPIs, but you do allow the flexibility and you like to see the impact and the influence with that.
Yeah.
That's really good. Anybody else? Oh, sure, please, Samir.
Chair, thank you very much. Just to complement what has already been said, it's difficult job actually to measure the impact. It's not very simple, particularly when you are measuring how subjective course measures in terms of some numbers, etc. So let me share what we do practically. When we design the training courses, when we conduct the trainings, we do carry out some kind of training evaluations in the ITU Academy as well as our training centers. Earlier, I recall some of you, or I would have conducted myself several training courses in our centers, which used to be in different forms and shape. I remember CAICT in China, as well ALTTC in Ghaziabad, in Malaysia. There were a number of training centers where I myself was involved. So we interact with the participant. We have a very specific evaluation form, and which is conducted both in quantitative and qualitative manner, especially with the focus on how was the quality of the training delivered, as well as to solicit what are the key areas or the topics of interest for future. For quantitative data, for example, in terms of the number of participants and the number of persons trained, country, geographic, gender disaggregated data, we do take into consideration all the parameters, and we receive the feedback on, as I said, on the priority topic, which is key important because the modules and the centers would actually, let's say we generally would receive 10 to 15 key areas of or the topics, then we shortlist depending upon the priority needs, and then we can develop the modules. And also, we do have a mechanism to get feedback regarding the quality of the instructor, the training that they have delivered, and the areas for improvement. And sometimes I have seen personally that during those training courses, some participants are very active, and in fact, it's a teaching learning process. I mean, at least for myself, and we make it like an experience, sharing experience in those trainings sometimes. So these are some of the reflections, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Samir. My respect to ITU goes even further after hearing all this, the different measurements. So, yes, Mr. Liu.
Thank you, Chair. If I may, just would like to add some of observations in the case of how APG Well Represent is doing. I think I agree with previous speakers in terms of the need for a mechanism of evaluation to make sure the outcome is what we expected. So in the case for APT, as I report to you that capacity building has been the focus of our organization since its establishment 45 years ago. The only difference is the thing that need to be trained has to be updated, okay, in pace along with the, let's say, the progress of technologies. And for APT, our capacity building takes on various forms, such as the traditional training. Then we have the local training, which is different, which is more intended to meet the requirements of a particular member, meaning it is only designed for that particular member. Then we've also expert mission, and which is also designed in response to the, let's say, the suggestions or proposals from members. Apart from that, we also have other programs like the ICT volunteers, also the program for young professionals. They're all intended to kind of, let's give training, let's say, to those young people, particularly women, to learn more about the experience and the skills. So in terms of how to measure the outcomes, well, I'll just share with you how we are doing. I think a couple of elements that we take into account. I think number one is we have been practicing kind of what we call feedback survey, which means that after let's say, as a result of any of the training courses, then we will, conduct survey to all the trainees to see how they feel about the, let's say, the training courses. And we have a kind of what we call rating scale from 1 to 5 to know, so what are the level of satisfaction from the part of trainees. So that's one part of getting feedback. The other way is getting feedback is from those training institutions. So also we also conduct a survey to those training institutions to see how they feel about their students, how they feel about the courses, the arrangement. So it's kind of a two-way approach. And apart from that, then we also have a mechanism to kind of, let's say, to understand, let's say, the requirements of members before we start any courses, to make sure the topics, the training courses are really suited to the needs of members. And lastly, we also have what we call the management committee, which is governing body of APT, which is to supervise the operation of the organization, both in terms of programs and budget. So through the MC, we have mechanism to make sure whatever we have done in capacity building has to be reported to the management committee, where it will be a good opportunity for us to listen to members to see, let's say, whether we are doing good or there any, let's say, room for further improvements. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Liu. I hear that from the different organizations, some of it like APNIC, which is a nonprofit organization. And when we're doing all this capacity building, we obviously have a goal. And that goal is very specific. In order to have those goals accomplished, all these different measurement of the outcomes are so important. And so let me switch a little bit about the government and intergovernment agencies. When government do things, they could be a little bit different than when we are doing with the organizations such as a nonprofit. So I want to see that the government, including the intergovernment agencies, how do you see that they play a fostering, a conducive environment for the skilled development? Maybe Ian, you want to get a start on that?
Thank you. So I'm also conscious of the audience, and we've got a highly technical audience here. So I thought I might spend a couple of minutes just talking about how the Australian government thinks about capacity building, and a couple of different approaches. So we see capacity building in a whole spectrum of various touch points, starting with relatively light touch engagements. A lot of the type of work that my team does, reaching out bilaterally to other countries, working with technical organizations, and working through a reasonably informal engagement to help build capacity and understanding and a shared mutual goal. A step up from there is certainly working with partners in this space, and I think this is some of the more interesting work in the capacity building world. So certainly working with intergovernmental organizations like the ITU and APT, who in turn make decisions about what's best for the regions. You know, I'm sure my co-panelists can tell you a little bit more about their organizations and the work they do, but for example, Australia provides an annual voluntary contribution to the ITU, a portion of which is earmarked for telecommunications and ICT capacity building projects in the Asia Pacific. And so we, in a vast majority of instances, work in close partnership with the IGOs to help shape up and run some of those projects. Stepping up from there, we have partnership arrangements in place whereby we work directly with delivery partners to provide some of the capacity development work. An example of this is a project we've just kicked off recently with Sylvia and the APNIC Foundation to support community participation in the IETF. And occasionally we do deliver some of those capacity development projects directly ourselves from government to other countries or industries. So, for example, some of our cybersecurity teams have deep expertise in some of the approaches and policies that we use in Australia. And so we may often go out and share that those direct learnings directly ourselves. But from my perspective, it's those partnership arrangements that are often most rewarding and most satisfying. So I guess coming back to the question specifically on the role of governments in playing fostering a conducive environment for skills development, I think there are obvious benefits around funding and financial support that the government can provide in this space, but I also think government can provide quite a unique perspective into some of those distinct challenges as well. I know in Australia, at least in my government, we have a very rigorous public consultation process whereby we work through challenges. We often hear from quite a large spread of the public, and so we often can provide some of that quite varied perspectives on some quite deep technical challenges and have touch points with various populations which the technical community mightn't always have. And I think that leads me into my second point, that governments have quite a lot of convening power as well. We can pull together quite a number of different parts of the community and various organizations to put our heads together and tackle some quite distinct capacity building challenges. And finally, I think this might be a little left of center for this crowd, but I think governments and IGOs can play a very important role in helping communicate some of what happens in the multilateral world to technical communities. I think if we are to invest time and energy in technical capacity building, it's quite important that that these programs and these pieces of work are sensitive and are calibrated to some of those broad, big picture challenges that the internet might be facing over the next couple of years. And certainly the government world can be quite a complex space. Did I break the... Oh, great. And I think sharing a lot of those multilateral and government perspectives is quite valuable as we try and upskill various communities and organizations in I guess defense and maintenance of the internet. So thank you.
Thank you, Ian. And definitely a lot of times when we see things, we always, at the end of the day, we turn our head to say that what can government do? What did government do in order to help us maybe pull out from a situation? So I think those comments and the sharing of the insights are very, very nice. And I see somebody on the podium. You have a question or comment? I just want to make sure. Yes.
Is that, yes, a question? Thank you. Yes, my name is Jose Lai. I work for the government of Timor-Leste. We certainly appreciate the works that have been done by all of you, Australian governments, the Thai, NTBC, ITU, APT, APNIC. I would like to take what Ian just said earlier a bit further. So we are talking about cooperation, and we are talking about capacity building. We understand very much about what ITU is offering, what the NTBC is offering, APT is doing, and APNIC is doing. Now, in terms of cooperations, have you any efforts in aligning that? And if so, what are the major challenges in doing that? Thank you.
I don't know if anybody wants to. Yeah, please.
Thank you. Very good question, Jose. Well, I want to share a little bit of the experience after the PRIGF happened last year in Australia, in Brisbane. There was, there are opportunities when meetings like this happen to convene people to actually try and find some alignment in how not only budgets are structured, but sometimes even things as simple as trying to collocate events, discuss what the calendar of activities is going to be, where people are going to be, just to make sure that we can support each other and participate effectively in those meetings. The meetings that happened at the IPR-IGF last year were seeking alignment for investment and capacity building in the Pacific across a number of organizations that are working in that space. And it's quite a detailed process to kind of put all your cards on the table to try and figure out, okay, you can take care of this, I can take care of that, and to a certain degree, split some of the responsibilities and build trust in those organizations so that we can deliver together. It's very clear that we cannot do everything by ourselves, and we need to talk to others and collaborate with others. The other thing that I would like to highlight is at the international intergovernmental level, there is one effort that links to a previous question from Joy about how do we evaluate things. And it's that by designing mechanisms like the Rome X indicators that UNESCO put together for internet universality, there is a very interesting effort to have different organizations contributing their data around metrics and what projects and initiatives they're doing. So when you start looking at who is contributing to connectivity or access or capacity building or laying towers or environmental issues, you start finding out who your potential partners are going to be. But reaching out and being open to conversations with new people that are coming to this space requires time and attention and consideration. So just, having the frame of mind to just in a corridor, you're running late to a meeting, but stop and have a chat with that person that is asking for you to understand better what you're doing. You don't know that, might be the one that will be a better partner for you. And I guess being open to establish partnerships that are based on win-win situations, where it is very clear, like in projects that we are doing or trying to establish more cooperation, for example, with the ITU, with the Australian government, is have very clear guidelines of, okay, what are your KPIs? What are the things that you really need to achieve? And what are the things that we have to deliver for our community? And let's figure out what is the compromise and how can we work together. But having those open conversations are incredibly valuable, and the convening power of organizations and individuals that are trying to establish that space is, I can't tell you how important it is to continue nurturing that space. Yeah, thanks.
Well, thank you very much for the question. The way I'm seeing it is, first of all, just to address the general question first, and then the question from the audience is that the government, in terms of fostering an environment for skill development, first of all, the government, we have a kind of, we're looking, I think, at the bird's eye views, and the government is the one coming out with policy. The master plan, the strategic plan, the short-term plan, long-term plan. So with that, the role of the government is that we know what we need, and we not looking down the road. We know that from the government what would be the requirement, and that how do we start providing assistance. And also one of the thing is that the government, we do have partnership, and that partnership includes international relations, international affairs, and international cooperation, and that is something that the government can bring on board, and we do cooperate with each other a lot. We trying to find the collective issues. First of all, we have to try to find common ground, collective issues, common benefits, so that there are a wide range of issues, and in terms of technology and skill development, if we find some common ground, then that is the starting point. After that, we can work together. That there were times in the past that, for example, MBTC, we work with ITU closely, but we also create a kind of training that we involve university from overseas or regulator from abroad, so that we know that this is the joint effort, and we know that what we taught, what we teach, or the issues in that certain training or session would be a mutual benefits for many countries or for both partners. The challenge, I would say, that is, first of all, we are living in a technology world. So sometimes technology differs from one country to another, because sometimes we adopt different standards, and also the level of development. One thing it could be a simple thing for certain country, where is the groundbreaking is something new, is new normal for another country. So these are the challenge, I believe, is that sometimes we have the same issues, that the issues are here, but the level of development are different. So if we're going to pursue that together, where would it be? But I do think that cooperation is the key, and it's not only international cooperation, it's also cooperation between domestic partnership between different organizations, and even among intra-government, because and I believe that is the case for many countries, that we have many government agencies who with all the good intentions do different kind of thing. But if we could join hands, and that would save a lot of budget, and that would make it less confusing, because sometimes you attend this course, this technical assistance from certain agency, and then you go to another, and you find is that there's so many things that cross-sectoral, or there's so many things that interrelated. So I think that government can play the crucial role, of course, from the bird's eye view down to what we need. And the international cooperation, we find common ground, we find common collective, and the challenge we need to pass it and overcome is the challenge of differences in terms of development. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. I think that your answer really covers the international, the domestic, and a lot of the bilateral or multi-stakeholders partnerships together. This is never an easy thing, and it cannot be speak with just a couple of words. So I guess that's I'm coming to thinking about that when we are talking about cooperation, when we are talking about working together for the same goal. Public plays an important role, as we mentioned earlier, and there's this public-private partnership, which I think that it's the exercise has been more and more happening in all different economies, and it really gives more of the impact to see a bigger value, a big output of that. But what are some of maybe the key elements, if I may ask, from the public-private partnership? Because everybody wants to partner with others, because I know I have some strength, but I also recognize that there's nothing that I can do just by myself to reach that scale, that goal. I do want to partner with somebody. What are some of the key elements that you guys can share with our audience? Yes, thank you, Samir.
Thank you, Chair. I think one of the key answers to this question is like fostering a win-win situation through partnerships that everybody can, be proud of what can be delivered. And all the agencies on the dais, they are bringing their very unique proposition. Coming from ITU, the UN agency, one of the key advantage that we can bring here is because we have membership from the governments, 193 governments. So the government is also our key stakeholder, and also 1,000 private sector members. So private sector, because they are involved in the development of the standards, as well as developing the ecosystem for developmental-oriented ICT for the development of the economies, and also the academia. So all the three angles, they're already there within the ITU's purview. At the same time, coming from the UN agency, we also bring in the main digital as well as our counterparts in other agencies, because digital is pervasive and cross-sectoral collaboration is the key in every country for citizen to benefit for all the services. Let's say for health services, we have very easy access to WHO, our colleagues in the UN system, for providing connectivity and the education for children in the school. We have our partner UNICEF Similarly for financial services, so we do bring in this additional elements of partnerships from the UN family. But in particular, I would like to go back and look at the high level about the need for partnerships and what efforts the UN agencies are doing, which actually we can leverage. And one of the example I want to again highlight was the Partner to Connect. It is everybody has a very unique role to contribute for providing meaningful connectivity and digital transformation. And in this Partner to Connect initiative, we have been able to foster partnership from 800 plus organizations, government agencies, the international organizations, private sectors, academia, and the kind of pledges that we are having is around $46 billion. And we are on the ground, we are connecting, we are trying to implement those pledges from our regional offices. So that is the first element. And the second element is I want to highlight the kind of cooperations that we have to answer our colleague Josle's question also. For example, on my right, we have our partner from Government of Australia. So as he highlighted, I want to reciprocate that we have projects for assisting countries through the regional initiatives in Asia Pacific. And one of the key elements in most of the projects are capacity building. For example, I can give my example in the new role on the e-waste for Mongolia and Thailand, supported by the Government of Australia. The key elements would be the national workshop and building capacities. So I think that is how the governments are also assisting international organizations, and we are trying to work with other government agencies. Similarly, for if I can turn on to NBTC Thailand, they've been long-standing partner on capacity building. There used to be TOT Academy earlier. We have provided quite a number of training courses, which leads me to our another partner of APNIC on IPv6 migration, quite a number of physical face-to-face as well as online trainings that we have organized, including in-country assistances. So we are fostering collaboration to make sure not only just the capacity building, but how we can bring the benefit of unique propositions that we can offer to the countries with our cooperation, and we don't need to reinvent the wheel. However, capacity building is such, even if there is some kind of duplication, because the needs are really, really great. So, Chair, with that, thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. That's great sharing. And Mr. Liu, you're gonna say.
Thank you. If I may just share with you some of my, let's say, the observations. I think number one, and we all realize that it's important that we need, let's say, collaboration between public and private sectors, particularly in the area of internet. And so I think the first key element, if I may to say, is to have a common understanding on the different roles of both government and public sector and private sectors. So those two sectors, they have their own unique role to play. That's for government, it's policy setting, environment setting, regulation. And for the private sectors, they are rich in, let's say, expertise, skills, resources, experiences. So I think, so these two elements cannot, public sector, they cannot separate. So they need to be a very a match between the two to make sure they complement each other. So that's what I see the first element in terms of, let's say, a good understanding in terms of how, what are the roles, and in terms of how they interact with each other. I think the second is for APT, which is intergovernmental organization, our membership from governments. So what we do is to provide a platform that allow, let's say, all membership governments or let's say public sector to gather together to exchange views and to find solutions. And we do have quite a number of policy related, let's say, mechanisms that allow those public and private sectors to join together and discuss together and explore let's say, ways forward. So that's like, thank you.
I guess my 2 cents on that one would be that we talk a lot about purpose, right? Shared purpose and find alignment. But besides that, I think that there is also another component in terms of readiness, which is, sometimes it's good. A type of activity or a training is something that would be good to have. But is this the right time to have that training, right? If it is an IPv6 training, it is something that will be able to be pursued fast enough so that it can be put into practice and use, or if it is something that requires additional preparation to get there. So assessing the readiness of different partners to see who might be holding, let's say, that partnerships and how that partnership moves forward is important. And also, my recommendation will always be to not underestimate resourcing those partnerships, not only what the final outcome it is that you want to achieve, that is, if you are delivering something on the field, but you need also to consider how, if your staff, if your team has time and resources and energy to contribute to that partnership at that particular given moment when there is this demand from the community. So don't make assumptions that you have all the resources to deliver on those partnerships, and be clear with potential organizations that are working with you. If you have a lack of those resources, just to put it on the table so that it's possible to find a solution and solve a problem that is of a pressing matter.
Wonderful, Sylvia. And, listen to Sylvia, Mr. Liu, and Samir's feedback on these key elements. I start thinking that perhaps my question shouldn't be asking for the key elements for the successful, because every situation could be unique. And the cooperation, the needs are different. It's really that how we match up each other in order to reach the same goal that we are trying to do. I think that's really something that's the partnership. That's the seamless ideas to working together is really the key. So I know that. Oh yes, please, Dr. Chen.
Thank you, Joy. I would just like to briefly talk about this issue because I think it's very important issues. And of course, if you talk about key elements in cooperation, apparently we all know what are the key elements for cooperation. For example, a collective goals. Many people have said that, and I echo it. Efficient and casual communication. I will talk about casual communication later on. Good coordination, transparency, understanding, open consultation, and sharing of information and trust. But what we need to know is that we are talking about, on one side, public sector, and on another side, private sectors. There are two sectors that work together, but there are a huge difference between the two sectors. It's like we are walking on the same road, but different lanes. But our two lanes are very, very different. And for example, public sector, we create regulatory regime. We intended to serve the public, like the mass majority of public, whereas the private sector creates market forces and competition. So we are looking at a different thing, but we are working on the same goal. And I think that what would help, and I talk about casual communication because please do have a good relationship between your counterparts. And in the old day when I start working in government official, it is so hard to have the communications. If you want to reach out to government, you need to make a phone call, blah blah blah. But now with all the technology, we are living in a technology where please do use technology. You have on your mobile, WhatsApp. You have all the social platform that you need. Just try to be casual and make it normal for private sector to reach out to public sector, and likewise, and we from the government, we do need a views from private sector as well. Many times, we did things from what we believe in, but the private sector didn't tell us, the frank comment or something, and later on we learned it, and we were like, oh, why didn't you tell us, before this, it could be fixed. And private sector often say, no, because we thought you're not going to like it we thought you could be offended or insulted. No, please speak your mind. And I think that is also, one thing that is important. And I think that another important element, we talk about the shared goal and the collective goals. But we are walking, come back to the road, we are walking, we are walking on two different lanes. How would we know, when we walk on that lane, are we visualize the same thing? Are we visualizing that the next stop will be gas station, then shopping, then food, then you would reach your finish line, for example? So we need something concrete and something precise. The shared plan, the master plan, the strategic plan, long-term plan, short-term plan, whatever it is. If you have it all laid out, or the action plan, these are the goals, these are the steps. Yes, you are walking on two different lanes, but in 5 days, you would reach the gas station. In the next 10 days, there would be the shopping center, and that the finishing line would look the same. So I think if you have something concrete and precise plan, and a shared time frame, it would be an enabling factors that create understanding between public and private sector, and it will enable two sides to walk together on the same road and know that eventually their destination will be the same. And that, back to you, Joy.
Thank you, Naturi. I felt like I couldn't agree with you more, because in the past we felt like there's this big, heavy, high wall when we are reaching out to government. But when we are talking about today, the different public-private sector, the partnership that we can work in together, it's a whole different blueprint. And I felt lucky for the people who are in Thailand to have government officers like you, who sees the whole plan, who has the big blueprint. And I want to ask that we talk something about partnership, cooperation, the key elements, some of the things. Are there any examples, good showcase that people can tell us about it, saying that, this is what we did, and this is something that happens, that enlighten us?
Thank you, Joy. Well, from the APNIC Foundation portfolio of initiatives, earlier today at the APNIC Foundation session, we showcased the SWITCH project, which is focused on supporting capacity development for women and gender diverse engineers across Southeast Asia. I encourage you to watch the recording about what was presented there so that you can explore a little bit more. But basically, the trust that the individuals that have put their hands up, many of them are joining us here in the room, to walk that road with them to try and figure out where is that they need to go, what things they need to learn, what needs they have, and for us to actually be listening to what those needs are, to be able to accompany them in that road. That has been probably the example that I would like to highlight there, which is, yes, we have our KPIs, yes, we have our goals as a foundation, what we would like to see, but their success is our success. If we listen and if we let them find their own path, their own journey for lifelong learning, that's where we get individuals that are really committed to this technical community in the region and that can actively participate. There is also room for communicating when you are not that sure about what you're doing, when you're failing or you think you are failing, and maybe you're not failing at all, but you think you are not doing things in the right way, right? So having mentorship and coaching and opportunities where technical questions can be answered, and you have a forum of partners, of folks that are willing and able to put their time to assist, is incredibly valuable for any technical deployment. An IoT, our ESIF grant recipients, for researchers that are deploying IoT solutions, that are doing IPv6 deployment, that are fighting bushfires with drones in the middle of somewhere, that are tracking water consumption in Timor-Leste. There are a number of initiatives there. They all require unique partners to align with a particular purpose. They all require listening, active listening skills to be able to say, are we ready for this and when and how? And to be able to pivot and change and adjust to what life really throws at you, because plans are great, paper or digital screens can take anything, but real life sometimes doesn't. So just being open to what the evidence is showing you and adapting and adjusting to that, it is super important so that your partnerships survive the projects that you're saying that you're going to do, so you don't burn all those bridges along the way. So just keep the dialogue going and focus on the people that are actually behind those initiatives. You will do fine at the end.
Yes, that was a wonderful initiative to hear about the switch. Any more examples or that you'd like to share? Yes, please, Natasha.
Thank you, Joy. Yes, there are many good initiatives. First thing first, what is popping in my head, and it's not from MBTC, but from ITU, my friend over here, is that the partner to connect that you mentioned, and I think that is a really good initiative because you bring people from around the world, many countries from around the world, that made a pledge. And it could be from public sector and private sector, and with that you create kind of awareness of people around the world in trying to do something. But then looking back at Thailand, I think the initiative start from again planning. I'm from government sector, so what is the government do? We always plan. But the plan is not a bad thing. The planning is also the good thing. And for example, we have the National Digital Economy and Society Development Plan, which we aim to create. One of the goals is to create quality and equitable society through digital technology, building participation, ensuring inclusive and equal usage, and to develop workforce for digital era, develop skilled workforce. So these are in the plan. And we also have 20-year Thailand digital landscape, which is from 2017 to 2037. Another element in this plan is inclusion, ensuring everyone can reap the benefit of digital technology. And for the initiative itself, one of the initiatives that we are very proud of is called the Village Broadband Internet Project, which is kind of a joint project between Ministry of Digital Economy of Thailand and MBTC. And I talk about, before this, not only international cooperation, but cooperation between two different government sectors can be useful. And this, we collaborate to expand high-speed network to all villages in Thailand. What we did is that MDES, or Ministry of Digital Economy, responsible for a number of 25,000 villages in the rural area, whereas MBTC is responsible for around 15,000 target villages in the rural area and 4,000 more villages in broader area. So these are another initiative that we make sure as a government that people would have access. And when we already have access, then we have to talk about knowledge and awareness of how to utilize it or the skill. And I would like to talk about Girls in ICT, which is also the project that the project of the ITU, and Thailand MBTC has been working very closely with the ITU on that. And the Girls in ICT is that we bring girls, from all over in every part of Thailand physically and also through virtual participation. And we teach them, we gave them the example of how they could be beneficial or how could they make a living. And then we do have the alumni that, the girls who used to participate as the participant 3 years ago, and now they become very successful using all the internet and digital technology that they have, and it's kind of inspiring for them to share. And last year we also add, because we are talking about equality, so it's gender equality, and boys need gender equality too. For in Thailand we do have Girls in ICT, and we initiate, I would say, the Boys in ICT last year too. So it's actually youth, but to make it interesting, we use Girls in ICT and Boy in ICTs. And just to go quickly on that, we do have the Smart Hospital, which is, if we talk about inclusivity with Smart Hospital, people from the far corner now, or even people in Bangkok, because how bad traffic in Bangkok can be. And with the Smart Hospital, you don't have to always go to the hospital and you can get professional help. We do have smart agriculture because Thailand is an agricultural country. And oftentimes we think that, okay, agriculture is something that very basic, but no, with technology, it can help. And that, it's a skill we provided to farmers so that they could do the value added to their products. This is, for example, the initiative, and the last initiative is that last year, MBTC organized International Symposium on Digital Inclusion. This is the initiative that we want to make sure that we promote the rights and equality of persons with disability, and we know do a lot of assistive technology to help people with disability. And in that particular symposium, we talk about ability, not disability. For we focus on the ability of people, to do things and make sure they are part of our normal society. Thank you very much.
Nathalia, I think that if I would have more time, we're going to hear all the wonderful initiatives that you have been doing. This is great. But my short comment is that this morning I heard about the SWITCH program, which is really impressive. I think there's nothing more that can please the person when you see the transformation to a person, to a spirit, especially in those underserved economy. Those are really wonderful things that we did. So guys, I'm going to ask, what about emerging technologies? Are they shaping us in any way when we are talking about the cooperation, talking about the different level of partnerships? Are these emerging technologies helping?
Well, I think they are, and I think partly the efforts to build a technical capacity referred to the opportunity to understand what are your concerns when you are facing a new technology, an emerging technology that may be accompanied by a number of misinformation or disinformation that is not technically sound what they're saying, for example, and it scares people. And by scaring them, we stop learning and we stop practicing. And I guess, if you think about artificial intelligence or blockchain, or, you hear a lot, but then encouraging people to actually go and learn about these things so that they can bring their questions to the table with evidence of, some solid ground that they can ask these questions and gain confidence and what are their doubts about what direction to move whatever decisions that they're making at their organization or at the government level. But it's super important capacity building to be able to visualize the future and participate in the future is something that is very critical. And on that, I am going to connect with something that Ian mentioned before, and it's about the engagement with standards development and adoption, not only adoption, but standards development. And it's in a region that is increasingly growing in terms of manufacturing and production of devices and that connect to the internet, from mobile phones and laptops and computers to our coffee machines, in our vacuum cleaners. The more devices are connected to the internet, the more we need to know what it is that we're putting in the market. What are the risks that we are bringing to the consumer? It is super important that those reflections are part of the capacity that we are building in people, is to have critical thinking, not to just jump at the next shiny object and throw things in the market, but actually ask ethical questions about what your role is in participating in that space. And if from the region we are adopters of standards that other regions work on, or are we actually engaging with the standards development at the ITF, at other standards body, with the ITU? What are we doing in that space, and what voices from the region have confidence to speak in that space because they were developed and supported to be able to speak up, take a microphone, and make those comments and those contributions. And I think that part is super important. It's not only to know that you have the skills, but to gain the confidence to speak up and represent your region and the interest of your communities in these spaces where things are decided and participated upon. Thanks.
Wonderful, Sylvia. Now, before I'm going to ask all my panelists to give the last comments, I want to turn to the floor to see that if there's any questions or comments you'd like to come to the podium to say. If I don't, I'm gonna starting to passing to my wonderful speakers to maybe from the other side. And I don't know, maybe Bikram, you can give us a summary and then we can roll it back from this other end. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So we have lots of insights here. So this sessions is technical capacity for internet development at APRICOT 2024, aim to address the very important topic on still there is lots of things to do in collaboration, in coordination, because we have in panel from ITU and APT and from different zone also. So there is from the government side also. So there is a plan for the policy and there is a master plan. There was a short-term vision and long-term strategy also. So there is a lots of things to do in capacity building, because it's still there is the technology is emerging and it's coming day by day, new challenges and new security threats. So we have to build this capacity building, and it's a core part in every ITU and APT and in our part. But still, in developing country like Nepal, Bhutan, so there's lots of things to do in capacity building, because I just follow the Samir, that he is just focusing on in the governmental and in private sector business. But what about the in the not-for-profit volunteer organization? So is there any plan of actions to do in that region? So yeah.
Thank you, Chair. In particular, as I mentioned, that although we are bringing in the government sector as well as private sector and the academia, the trainings, the ITU Academy training courses, they're free for any organizations and individuals. They can register, they can actually participate. So this is taking care of those NGOs or any organizations that wishes to participate. But I can recall wearing my earlier hat of being in the regional office, working to most of you in various countries. What I always used to do whenever there's a technical assistance, let's say, I give an example of my presence and assistance in Nepal, if I can cite example, where it was for persons with disabilities, how we can create an environment and develop a policy for use of ICT for assisting persons with disabilities. So the way we thought is that apart from policy development, where we have an expert and we discuss with the policymakers and regulators in Nepal, we also invited the government from Afghanistan because they had a similar request. So we brought them here in Nepal. So together with our expert, we organized a national workshop involving the persons with disabilities, their organizations, and those with suffering from different disabilities in a workshop where we wanted to understand where are the gaps, how they are suffering, and how those things could be addressed using technologies. So it was not just the government, but also participatory process, inclusive process, where the feedback from the people who are directly on the ground, they need those skills, they need those technologies, how the policy enablers could be. For example, one of the simple thing was how we can actually rationalize the tariffs or the mobile phone tariffs when we make phone calls for those who are disabled, because it would really benefit them for the access and the uses of those communities. So basically, we leverage and involve them in a very inclusive manner. And the last part, if I may, since I have the microphone, Chair, with respect to the emerging technologies, ITU has got 3 sectors. Most of you would be aware that we are coming from the WRC, which is a scene setting treaty making conference that happened, and we were talking about the 6G standards harmonization, as well as the spectrum, and also for the ITUT. And from the APT, I think we've been organizing for the harmonization of the common Asia-Pacific proposals for the common standards for interoperability. For all those new technologies, let us say for the AI for good, which is happening in May, and also for the national disasters, we have the focus groups. And in ITU, particularly for addressing the technical needs of those communities, we have bridging the standardization gap that provides capacity building for those technical people. They want to understand and enhance the awareness, what are those technical standards, how they can use in their context of the national context or in the organizational context, and how we can build their capacities. I will leave it there, but we'll be happy to include and provide assistance. Thank you.
And thank you. One more very small questions for Nota sir. So in government, there is any plan so for 5-year plan, 3-year plans, or there's strategy for the capacity building. So how the developed country is working on the capacity building?
Thank you very much. Yes, we do have the capacity building plan, and we do have, as I mentioned, the digital development plan, and the national development plan. So we go along that. And also for MBTC, we do have a master plan, and in master plan, we do have a goals of what we going to achieve. And that, with that master plan, we at the MBTC Academy, we do make a plan, and that, we project what we have to offer, or what people would need inside MBTC or outside of the MBTC. So that, as I say, we are the government, we make a plan, and we know that, okay, these are the technology we can adopt. These are the skill we're gonna require, and we decide the program accordingly. So this is how we're gonna pursue our capacity building route. And I also, because I understand that you want us to have sort of our ending remarks, and now that I have the microphone, so you don't have to come back to me again. So that I would say that yes, we are talking about technologies, many modern technologies, and we talk about whether technology would replace us, the human. And what I'm going to say is that do stay on top of technology. Technology cannot replace human, because we are the one who decide technology, and we stay on top of it. How? Never forget the soft skill. We can do all the AI skill that we need, or the technology we need, the VR, everything IoT. But it's a soft skill that technology can't replace. So do adopt the soft skill within yourself. And the very last comment I would do is that never lose sight of sustainability and sustainable development goal. Why? Because we all notice that technology comes fast, and as we change rapidly, it always go fast. And sustainability is what makes the development, the works, and the effort stay timeless. So never lose sight of sustainability.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And just I need to say this for this technical capacity for integrated development. We are having this session, so all we need to do collaboration, cooperation, and cooperation. These 3 things to be done. So from multi-stakeholder, from every stakeholder can participate as public, private, and partnership. That's how we have to move ahead. Thank you, Chair. Over to you.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think that we definitely will have to invite the speakers coming back for more discussion. So I want to leave a 1-minute comment for Mr. Liu and Ian. Any comment? And of course, Sylvia. 1 minute.
Okay, thank
And
you.
we have to close.
Thank you. I can be shorter than 1 minute. Okay. To be brief, I think as technology grows, I think we always have the issue of, let's say, digital divide with us.
Yes.
So that requires that we need to keep up our efforts in the area of capacity building. in that sense, we need to be responsive in terms of how we deal with capacity building in terms of training courses. So last point is, I think that to achieve that process, I think that we need cooperation of each player. So it's multi-stakeholder approach. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, 1 minute.
Thank you. I think that works. That works. Yeah. Look, I'll be brief. I can see that little thing's going orange. I wanted to pick up on one of the points that Noshachad made in his earlier statement about capacity building can come in all forms, shapes, and sizes, and it doesn't need to be a complex process engaging with government. You know, you guys are the technical experts. You know your fields incredibly well. You're across your brief. You do your jobs extremely impressively. Reach out to your local government, make a connection, and talk about this. We aren't you know, a giant monolith. We're accessible via phone, email, WhatsApp, maybe TikTok in some instances, but I think a lot of us genuinely want to have an open conversation about this. You know, so please reach out, talk, collaborate, and just get started. It doesn't need to be complicated. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Okay. Well, yes, we have heard from our speakers, and of course, this is a topic that we can continue discussing. But for today, we're going to close the session, so the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much for your participation, and my remote users. Thank you so much.